You can't become a new person by waking up to the same life every single day. The fastest way to shift your identity is not in another self help book. If you have been trying to reinvent yourself, it might not be you, it might be your environment. Peace. My name is Marquita. I'm an author, a spiritual coach, and also the host of the Alchemy Soul podcast. So if you're interested in checking it out, please be sure to check below. Today, we are going to talk about the 5 reasons why a new environment is key to a new identity. So, we're just going to get right into it. Okay, so first of all, your environment reinforces your identity. Your environment reinforces your identity. It is because you have the same routine. Essentially, most people move on autopilot. And so if you're moving on autopilot, you have the same routine every day, you have the same meal, you have the same conversations, you interact with the same people, you might go to the same coffee shop and interact with the same waiter or waitress. Like, your routine and your habits are built into the environment that you are currently in. And if you've been there for your entire life, for example, like, your view and your perspective about life is shaped by your environment. And even though you may have a moment where you go on vacation or whatever, it's still very identity shifting when you decide to move somewhere else. And I'm not saying that you have to pick up and move out of the country like I did, right? But just moving over to another city completely shifts your habits. Just moving over to another state completely shifts your identity. I have lived in many states in the United States, and every time I went to a different place, I was amazed by how the culture changed and shifted. So when people say that, for example, when people say that African Americans and Africans, like from the continent of Africa, are the same, we're not, right? Like, because me as Marquita, who has lived in Atlanta, is different from Marquita, who lived in Chicago, right? I lived in Atlanta for 10 years, right? And then those are two different versions of myself. And so when you think about when you are shifting into a new environment, you have to be mindful that every single little place has its own culture. And so, yes, while some things may be relative, like overall, like people talk different, the way that people pronounce words are different. Like, it's just, if it's not a totally different language, it's definitely certain words, certain music, certain just different cultures in every single part of the world, to be honest. And so if you are in a place where you are wanting to shift your identity, I feel the fastest way that you can do that is to move, right? Because you have to be more open-minded to like a new environment. Okay, so number 2, you stop performing for people who knew the old you, right? So the people that knows the old version of you, they have that version of you stuck in their mind, right? And so the way that you show up in their life, like, they're expecting that version of you. The way you've always handled things, they expect that version of you. When you decide to move to a new environment, essentially you give yourself space and freedom to become somebody totally different. And so they'll be able to look and see that, hey, this person is changing, this person is shifting. And now you may not feel so much pressure to keep up with the expectations because you are adapting to a new version of yourself. So, number 3, with new environment comes new experiences. When you decide to go into a new environment, you are more apt or more curious to explore whatever environment that you're in, right? Because, like I said before, if you were in an environment that you grew up in your entire life and you go somewhere totally new, I would assume that you would be curious, right? New environments constantly put you in situations where you have to learn new things, right? You have to figure out the new grocery store, the new routes, new issues, new problems may arise. For example, since I've been here, I've been locked out twice from 2 different places, and it's, I wouldn't say that it was chaotic, but it's just problems, right? New problems that I didn't experience when I was in the States, because everything is like electronic and you can just punch in a code and you'll be in your house. And so when you step into an environment, you have to stretch yourself a little bit. You have to be willing to understand the culture and willing to understand the environments. And you have to be willing to allow yourself to grow and to adapt into the space. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to overperform in the beginning, right? You're just going to naturally like adapt because that's what we do. And that leads me to the fourth one, right? Like discomfort creates growth. When you are put under pressure, you are put into spaces where you have to be resilient. For me, I'm constantly putting myself in uncomfortable situations, but I'm also a person that really enjoys being in new environments. I enjoy seeing who I can become when I go into new environments. And so for me, like I'm constantly stretching and reaching for higher limits. So a new environment forces you to become more resourceful and more resilient, right? I remember when I went to Thailand in 2023, and it was me and my daughter who was 18 months at the time, who was 18 months old at the time. She drank almond milk, right? Like she was drinking almond milk to go to bed at that time. And one thing that I struggled with and that I, had trouble with finding was almond milk, specifically on the islands that we went to because we went to Koh Phangan, then we went to Koh Samui. And so when I got to Thailand, like I had to figure out like, well, how and where would I be able to find some almond milk? And of course I was able to find it, but it was difficult to find it. And even just thinking about being here in Colombia, like I don't speak Spanish, but a lot of the things that I'm reading that I'm looking at is in Spanish. And so I have to know how to communicate with, somebody that I need to communicate with, and or I need to know how to um, convert the US dollar into the Colombian peso. And so it's just different things. Like new environments show you how resourceful and how quickly you need to be able to think on your feet are not exactly how you when things are not exactly how they have always been. In your surroundings shape your daily choices, right? Before I moved to Atlanta, I was not an outdoorsy person, right? Granted, I moved to Atlanta when I was 21, maybe 21, 22. So I was still very young. So when I moved there, I fell in love with nature. I never looked at Chicago as being a very nature filled place. But after I spent some time in Georgia and me falling in love with nature, when I went back to Chicago, I was like, oh, it's a lot of nature here. And I never paid attention to that. like, and I felt like a deep respect and deep reverence for the culture of Chicago. I love Chicago. Of course, I'm from Chicago, but it's like your environments will stretch you. You know what I mean? Like, say for example, you are not a person that's active, right? And you decide to move to Thailand. In Thailand, you're gonna be walking. Like Thailand is a very walking country. Like a lot of stairs, a lot of walking. You're pretty much gonna be walking everywhere. If you're not a person that is used to movement, moving into a new environment can help stretch those limits. It can help push you towards a healthier lifestyle. And so overall, I am the queen of movements. I am the nomadic queen. I love to move. I love to be in new environments. I love challenges. I think it's part of like my ADHD where I feel like I always have to have an issue to solve, or it's like I always have to have some sort of stimulation, and stimulation though, not overstimulation, because I've been here and baby, it is very overstimulating. However, when I go into different environments, I try to see like what version of myself is showing up, because it's going to be different every single time, right? Like here, I'm able to be calm. I'm able to not freak out when things happen, but I'm also very anxious. I'm also very hyper vigilant. I'm also looking over my shoulder at every single turn, because I don't know if somebody's gonna snatch my bag or somebody's gonna, I just don't know. And so it's just like, well, who are you when you go into different environments? Like, how does the culture and the environment shape your reality? And so, if you just want to change your identity at any point in time, if you want to change your identity, moving into a new environment can be a fast way for you to do so. And so that's all I got for you all today. That was really quick and straight to the point. I hope you all enjoyed that. If you all resonated with anything that I said today, please be sure to leave me a white heart in the comments. I'm currently on a 365-day long form content challenge. I have also opened my books for anybody who is interested in one-on-one consultations with me. And if you enjoyed this video, please buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee. $1 or $2 going to help me and support me to keep going long and far. Okay. Peace, love, and light, beautiful souls. I will see you all back here tomorrow.